Welcome to Vivid Talk Live. I'm your host, Gwen Witherspoon. I am the Principal and Chief Visionary Officer of Adam Red, an Atlanta branding agency, and I am a brand strategist and a Better Life Coach. Vivid Talk Live is all about your personal and professional development. I am here to help you learn a fresh way of thinking and doing for all you were designed to build. I'm streaming live to Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope, and then you can watch the stream from those channels and on my website at gwenwitherspoon.com. Now, replays are also available there as well as on IGTV and Twitter. So make sure you follow your favorite channels so you'll receive notifications when I go live Wednesdays at 7 p.m. EST, Eastern Standard Time. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I asked what would make your life better. And last week, I encouraged you to embrace difficulty. Ouch. Tonight, I want to help you understand what's keeping you from the life you want. Introduce yourself in the comments and don't hesitate to ask questions. Say hello to Katrina and Ron. They are helping me monitor the comments. I want to thank you so much for joining. Please share the link to invite your friends, and then we'll get to it right after this. Now, make sure you follow Gwen Fuchsias at Gwen Fuchsias on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Periscope, and Gwen Witherspoon Coach on YouTube. Hey, family. Hey, Vivid family. Tanita, Katrina, so good to see you all. Please make sure you share the link. Let some other folks know we're online, and let's hit it. Like, you know what? I don't know what this is going to be tonight. I mean, I have an idea of where I'm headed, but I'm looking forward to what is going to come out of my mouth so we can all learn it together. But we talked about, I asked you, as I mentioned in the intro, I asked you what would make your life better, right? And if we say that our lives always could be better, right? And so there's varying degrees of dissatisfaction we have with different areas of our lives. So there's always something that could be improved. But I think oftentimes our lives may be governed by a certain amount of frustration, especially when it feels like the thing that you really want. Hey, Renee, welcome. But I feel like when it feels like the thing that you really want is not coming your way fast enough, when situations and circumstances aren't changing fast enough, it's really easy to let a little bit of frustrations set in. I am familiar with that feeling because I'm one of those people, I have big dreams, big ideas, and I'm pretty impatient, the I word, yes, pretty impatient. So I want to see an instant change, right? And most of us do. It was like once we discover that something could be improved, we want it, like, bring it on. Like, I want it now, right? And so what I want to talk about really is this week, the difference between where you are right now and where you want to be is really, I got my notes here, it's really found in your habits, right? And for me, it was a little painful as the more I thought about it. I'm like, well, really, I don't have what it is I want ultimately because of me, um, and and so the other piece of that is you make progress. Progress is really coming to you based on your actions, right? So that's really where I'm talking about with your habits. And then it's like you take I'm sorry, progress. Let me read this correctly because I wanted to make sure I got it right. Progress is in the actions you take every day, right? So we're going to get to where we want to go by making just consistent, steady action, like moving towards it, right? Now your actions, this is the other piece where I had to really start in examining myself. Your actions are really governed by what's going on inside of you. Okay, let me repeat that. Your actions are governed by what's going on inside of you. And then that really, what's going on inside of you really comes down to what you believe. What do you believe about? Really, it's about what you believe about yourself, right? We started this entire Vivid Talk Live series talking about personal branding. And so personal branding is really about you first have to identify what's going on inside of you, what you believe about yourself. What are your perceptions about yourself? And we all have them. You have things about yourself that you don't like. You have maybe lies that you've heard other people say. Maybe there's just lies that you've embraced. Maybe you compare to yourself to someone else and come up short in your own eyes. I've done it. I've done it a lot. And then what you've then done is you've started to believe and internalize that that estimation, the report that you created on yourself. And oftentimes that's in the negative. Like we're our worst critics, right? And so I wanted to talk to you about, I remember several episodes ago, I talked about repo, how you can change any habit. Repo as an acronym for repetition, easy, pleasure, often, habit. And it goes like this. When I do anything with repetition, it becomes easy. When it becomes easy, it becomes a pleasure. And when it becomes a pleasure, I will do it often. And when I do it often, it becomes a habit. Repo. It's a really great, you can change any habit, anything that you want to improve in terms of how you behave. You can change your behavior, and you can act your way into the better life that you really want, and what you see in front of you, that vision, that revelation of the life that you want to live, that positive future that you created and set out in front of you. You can act your way into that. Okay. And so oftentimes, so there's 3 words that came up when I was really going through this, trying to prepare: hesitation, distraction, and procrastination. Hesitation, distraction, and procrastination. And it hit me when I got this the first time, so now it's really hit me again. Hesitation, indecisiveness, and procrastination are emotional stutters. I'm going to say that again. Hesitation, indecisiveness, and procrastination are emotional stutters. So when you get in front of you this vision for this beautiful, fabulous life that you have been destined to live, and you get blocked, or when it feels like it's taking too long, when it feels like it's too hard to get to it, when you are frustrated because you know that there's something better ahead for you, but you just, for whatever reason, you just cannot experience it, or it feels like it's eluding you. It's so easy when you try to take a step toward it because of the disappointment, because of your just a lack of confidence. It's so easy when you step out, then you hesitate. That's a stutter, especially when I know if you're like me, I have heard so many words of encouragement, so many prophetic utterances, so much inspiration that just charged me up in the moment and made me believe almost anything. But then when you get back to real life and you start seeing difficulties, or where you get disappointed, maybe there's something that you feel like you were really looking, like hanging your hat on, really believing to happen, and it didn't. Or, maybe there was a relationship that just didn't come out the way you expected it to, or the way you wanted it to. So then it's just so easy then when you try to step out again, it's hard. It's like you hesitate, and it's like a pause, right? This you have all the lights are green, and all the signs are pointing forward, but you step out, and for whatever reason you hesitate. And I want to present to you that's an emotional issue. And so when you stutter emotionally, it stops you in your tracks, right? Or it impedes your forward motion. And so she said, am I the only one? Oh, are you frozen? Um, but so the second piece is distraction. You know, the Bible says a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. So double-minded. I really looked at that, and you heard there's like being a man of two minds. Being double-minded really talks. It speaks to instability, right? And if you are double-minded, you're unstable. And I really saw that as distraction. If I'm distracted, then it's gonna be, oops, I got discount. Let me push this back. Just so it won't be distracting. That's a perfect example. But if you are distracted, right, your gaze should be here, but it's over there on my paper flapping, right? And or any other situation that's coming to keep you from moving forward. And so distraction, the opposite of that is really structure. If you are unstable, if you create some structure that will help to bring some stability. Welcome back, Renee. And so distraction is that other thing. If you are, so just think about it. If you've set your vision, set your gaze on this beautiful, positive future for yourself, and then something else comes along, just you got to understand that everything's going to come to take your gaze off of that, right? If I raise my hand, you can't help it yourself but to watch my hand. You want to see what's happening, right? And so there are so many distractions that hit us. And what I want to present to you, it starts first and foremost on the inside. There are these emotional distractions, these excursions that we go on emotionally that distract us from that future that we desire, from that better life. And then the other piece is procrastination. Procrastination is to put something off to a later date. And oftentimes, I think I've even said here, procrastination is really you comforting yourself emotionally. You can distract yourself from your disappointment. You can just distract yourself from being afraid by not like facing it. Like, I'm going to go do something else. I know I should be doing this over here that's going to help me move forward. But for whatever reason, I've decided that this thing over here is hard. And so rather than face that, knock it out, get it done, I go over here and allow myself to be distracted by something else. I'm going to put that off. I'm not going to face that right now, but I'm going to go over here and do this. So here we go. Hesitation, distraction, procrastination, they all work together. But the purpose of them all is to keep you from moving forward. But I want to present to you that the source of all of that is going on inside of you. So I want to talk about 8 personal disciplines. So in order for us to master our habits, right, which I started out talking about, the fact that the difference between where you are and where you want to be is found in your habits. And so I want to present to you that we all need to master 8 habits. Now, when we talked about the Vivid model earlier, and the flip productivity system that I've created, I talked about 5 habits to master. Those habits have to do with productivity, when you want to accomplish something external, right? But these 8 disciplines are really internal habits that we have to master. And I want to encourage you to enlist yourself in your own inward training program. And we all have to do this continually. Like it's one of those things that we're constantly, you think about any living thing that's growing, there needs to be maintenance and training and discipline to keep it just to keep it growing in the right direction, even to keep it healthy, right? So again, this list right here. So there's 8 things, and the first one is learning. And these are not internal disciplines, are things that oftentimes are the most difficult to do because they're not as apparent. So learn, we can, you can ingest information, you can hear, like we're constantly exposed to so many different marketing messages and all the news, and there's so much coming at us all the time. We have all of our phones and all the notifications. Mine are going off all the time. All the emails, all the text messages. We're constantly bombarded with information. But that doesn't mean that we're actually learning. We actually, we have to make a decision that we're going to give ourselves to study, and study, no matter what the topic. Study is going to cause you to learn, which is an internal discipline, and that internal discipline is going to help you stave off hesitation. It brings confidence. When you gain knowledge, when you start using it and understanding, working that learning muscle, that breeds confidence. The more I do this show, the more confident I get in my ability to do it, even though I'm also learning that it's really, I have to rely on a different source to pull this off. And it's kind of, I'm a little uncomfortable at one level, but then on another level, I'm really like coming into myself and enjoying the process that I'm going through, the development and what it takes to get in front of you, every week. And that is an internal discipline that is giving me strength, right? It's helping me to stave off procrastination. It's causing me to not hesitate. Before this, I spent 3 years hesitating to get in front of a camera, and I don't understand why. I don't understand what would make me do that, other than I was afraid and I wasn't necessarily focusing my energy and effort on focusing more energy on the internal discipline of developing, like me proactively taking action in that area. And so now every time I take action, I get stronger. And so it doesn't mean that I don't have any of the other issues. It doesn't mean that I don't hesitate. It doesn't mean that I don't procrastinate. It doesn't mean that I'm not distracted, but it means that I get an opportunity to push those things back, or I have the strength to resist those negative elements that keep me from moving forward by practicing this discipline of learning, like giving myself to it. And it doesn't mean I spend hours and hours and hours, but it does mean that you have to just invest some concentrated, specific time to learn. And if you are doing that on a regular basis, you are developing this emotional fortitude that you need to really master your own habits. Okay. So then the second one is devotion. And I have purposely taken some very spiritual words and tried to break them down to more practical, actionable words. And devotion is, I think, once we learn the internal discipline of devotion as a lifestyle, that's going to help us turn our focus away from what's going on outside of us and make sure we are receiving our strength and our power and our ability, everything from a source greater than ourselves. That's what devotion is about. And so when we give ourselves to devotion on a daily basis, on a regular basis, just as a lifestyle, that's going to help. Just think of the confidence that comes when you really you lay all of your inability on the one who has all ability, on the source of all ability, on the one who created you, the one who destined you, right? devotion is an energy force all by itself, right? And I'm not trying to get mystic or anything, or but just that is a power that pushes you forward, that guides you forward, and gives you the ability to resist all of those negative forces to try to stop you, that try to stop you definitely in your tracks. So then the next piece is hunger. Now, she's taking, a sparkly journal. Okay. Um, Notes are good, and a sparkly journal is even better. So the next one is hunger. And so hunger, when I say hunger, I want you to think about your appetites. Appetites. Not just your belly, not just food, not your physical food, but I want you to think about your appetites. And when we exercise, like go into inward training so that we can manage our appetites, food, sex, money. If we are being overtaken by any of those areas, all of those areas are vital to life, right? We wouldn't be here without sex. We wouldn't be here physically. Our bodies cannot be strong without food, without nutrition. We need money to conduct our affairs. We need money to just take care of ourselves or our livelihood. We need money to sow. We need to have seed so we can have something. We can get a harvest, right? So we need all of those things. But when our appetite for those things start to take over, as opposed to us mastering those ourselves, then those things are the things that those little like the weeds that can spring up and stop us in our tracks. And we want to be able to continue to move forward, to take action, to allow ourselves to just overcome every possible distraction. And I'm telling you that inward, managing your own appetites, managing your hunger, cultivating a lifestyle of really positive hunger. You know, if I can be hungry for success, hungry for service, I can be, but if I'm hungry for in an ambitious, like a negatively ambitious way, then that becomes a distraction that keeps me from going exactly where I need to go. So the next one is reflection. And again, I'm one of those people, like I like moving. I like action. I like building things, doing things. But we all have to take time to reflect. And you could think, some people like to meditate. Some people call it prayer. Some people call it quiet time or clearing your mind. But the bottom line is you have to reflect. I think in my building the ARC model, how to plan anything, the last step in that model is to look back. And look back is about reflection. It's so important even to reflect on your day. What happened? What did you accomplish after the fact? Not to harp on anything negative, not to live in the past, but it's important when you hear something like Renee's taking these notes. When you take these notes, how many times you take notes and then never go back to it? I do it, but I'm telling you, when you go back, I've mentioned this before, those notes are like little prophecies to you. It's helping to direct your future. And so we want to take the time to reflect, to when something happens. I have some friends that love like just taking walks in the woods and looking at the trees, listening to the birds. And it's a joke because a couple of times I've gone out with both of them, they're just like on this scenic tour. They were like toddlers. Every direction they kept, oh, look it over here. And they were so excited. And it was just just had wonder and awe. And I was like, okay, when are we going to get to where we go? And so it was so we have to learn how to reflect. So even me, I have to learn how to enjoy the just being outdoors, and how to really notice the colors of the trees, and how the leaves are formed and shaped on different on different plants. Like I have to take the time. My husband's building growing a garden, and it's so powerful to watch that squash comes out of flowers and tomatoes come out. It's beautiful to see how all those things, how they come to pass, right? The process that living things go through. And we need to reflect on our own process, reflect on our own growth, reflect and not on reflection is positive in nature. I want to think about what's that life that I really want. What's that like? What's it gonna feel like? I had a friend once. She asked me. She told me to close my eyes. She goes and imagine where you want to go. And she said, and then like, what does it smell like? What does it sound like there? What does it feel like when you walk into it? And that is such a beautiful exercise. And your brain, when I'm told of just the brain science, our brains don't really know the difference between a dream or reality. So if we are using our energy and our power and our brain cells to create images, our brain is really helping us to create the very thing that we see. And so reflection is that practice of imagining, of examining, of investigating where you've been, what the progress you've made, so that you can just create, like further make it vivid, like further create the very thing that you want. And then the next discipline is friendship. And I love this one because the Bible says if you want friends, that you should show yourself friendly, that you should basically be a friend. You should be the kind of person that you want. And I was watching a Sunday morning episode years ago, or within the last couple of years, and they were talking about the fact that that more people die from isolation in the United States than they do from any other cause. And now that we're in this whole COVID situation and we're quarantined, there are so many people who are at greater risk because we were not designed to be by ourselves. We were not designed to be isolated. I think I also recently watched where there was a herd of buffalo and the baby buffalo were in the back, right behind. And then this group of lions or tigers came up from behind and grabbed the weakest and the smallest. And so because the children, the little babies, they couldn't keep up with the herd, right? So isolation gives you an opportunity to be devoured. And what we want to do is we want to cultivate the discipline of friendship. Cultivate. If you are loneliness, the best cure for loneliness is to reach out and be a friend to someone else, to serve someone else. And that is going to change everything in your life. And this is something too, I mention my husband a lot, but I learned a lot of lessons. So it's beautiful to see he has so many male friends, so much, and he may not see them and talk to them all the time. But what I love is he's got all these friendships from childhood that he's cultivated, and it's so beautiful to watch men have these close friendships and relationships. Now they don't communicate the way we do at all. They grunt when they talk, but it's powerful to see the strength of friendships and the strength of being a friend and knowing that even when you don't talk to somebody every day all the time, maybe it could be even years, that you can rely on that person because they've been a friend to you and you've been a friend to them. And so we have to cultivate. Friendship is a discipline. Relationships, even learning how to get through conflict. I mean, oftentimes when we kind of hit a bumpy road in a relationship, it's too easy to get defensive, to be unseemly, right? To blame, instead of yielding and saying, you know what, I'm really sorry about that. I didn't mean to say that way. I'm sorry that I did that to you, that I made you feel that way. And recognizing, really covering learning how to cover each other, cover other people, learning how to be a peacemaker in the middle of situations. All that comes from the inside of you. The ability to do that comes from the inside, and it comes from cultivating this discipline of friendship. And then, so I got three more. So the other discipline that we want to cultivate is wealth. So in my original list, right, it said money. And what I realized is it's not about being disciplined with how you handle money. It's being so how you handle money is a direct reflection of your attitude about wealth. If you think that there's not enough, or that it's possible that you could run out, you could become a hoarder. You could be a little bit stingy, right? But if your attitude about wealth is that there's more than enough, there's more for there's plenty for everybody, then you may deal with money more generously, right? I mean, I'm oversimplifying that, but the concept of developing this an awareness of wealth, the wealth that is in your life, being paying attention to cultivating the things that really are important and the things that really do bring wealth, what brings wealth to you, what makes you, in our country, let me jump in, interrupt myself. In our country, we are really so wealthy that in our country, the people who are poor, considered poor, their poverty in other countries is wealth, right? And so what we do is we look at each other and say, well, I don't have the nicest car, or I don't have new designer clothes. I can't buy certain, shoes. I can't eat in certain restaurants. We look at what we don't have because we're comparing ourselves to someone else. Whereas from a financial standpoint, we are some of the wealthiest people in the world. And, but understanding that comes from cultivating the discipline of wealth. Understanding that I'm wealthy because I have freedom, and not just politically or from an American democratic standpoint. I have freedom because I know who I am. I know who I belong to. I have freedom because I recognize that I am in control of my habits and my actions, and that those things really do impact the quality of my life. Like, I can do something differently today, and then that's going to change my life for the better. That's wealth at its core. And so understanding that no matter what circumstance we're in, no matter how difficult, whatever financial challenges that you may be facing during this pandemic and this economic downfall and this social unrest, all of that, understand that you are wealthy from no matter what's going on, no matter how many bills are past due. There is just intrinsically wealth lives inside of you. And when you cultivate this understanding from the inside, and emotionally you recognize that there is nothing that really can stop you because you have everything that you need. And that when you step forward, when you take action, you know that whatever you need is going to show up to meet you because you cultivated this place of wealth, right? And so if you're hesitating, if you are distracted, if you are procrastinating over any area, I challenge you to examine yourself in these 8 disciplines. So then the next 2, almost done, adoration. So this really kind of comes out of worship, right? But if you live a life of adoration, and the adoration is not pointed at a human being, right? It's not something that is flawed, right? Your adoration goes to the divine, to your God, to someone and something that's much greater and bigger than yourself. And when you live out of that adoration, you pour that on yourself because you recognize that because you were just created. You were deemed worthy of every beautiful, perfect thing, of all good things. You were deemed worthy just by your birth. Not You didn't have to do anything else other than be, to exist, to be worthy. And so you pour out your adoration because of that fact. And but then you give yourself the gift of allowing yourself to pour it on yourself, just by not to and I'm not saying you should worship yourself, but what I'm saying is that you should recognize that you are valuable enough, that God himself, he deemed you worthy of existing. And so because of that, you pour your adoration out on him, but you allow that adoration, like the remnants of that, to to fall on you, so that when from your core you have a value for yourself that's balanced and that's stable, and that's helping you to move forward and helping you to recognize those situations and those things that come to make you stutter emotionally. Okay. And the last thing is accomplishment. I almost used the same word, works. Last week we talked about the works model, my model for becoming, and really identifying that life's work and the steps that that you could take using that acronym. But this, I really wanted to talk about this internal sense of or a mission to accomplish, not to be driven, but to allow yourself to just try to make incremental progress at all times. Sometimes your incremental progress may be just, I'm just going to chill on the couch today. I'm not going to allow myself to get caught up in this rat race. I'm not going to allow myself to get overwhelmed. I'm going to keep in from my inside, in my just my own will and disposition is going to be toward accomplishment. Because if you do that, you can't accomplish and move backwards. You must go forward just by nature of the word. I am going to improve. I am going to, make one step, improve one thing. And maybe you set out to do 20 things and it seemed like nothing was working out. But if you can say, you know what, I'm gonna get something that I can check off, something that I can accomplish in front of me today. Excuse me. So accomplishment is really a forward disposition, right? So eight things, 8 personal disciplines for inward training, so that we can master our habits, and that we can make progress and by taking action every day. I want you to leave this with this disposition, toward action, but understanding that you can move forward, you can accomplish anything that you set out to do. That vision you have in front of you, what you're believing for, what would make your life better, all of those things are possible, and it's going to be determined by your action, by what you do when you get up every day, and each step that you take every day. And the only thing that's going to stop you is what's going on inside of you, right? So we have to go into training inwardly, and there's 8 disciplines we want to develop: learning, devotion, hunger, which deals with those appetites, reflection, friendship, wealth, adoration, and accomplishment. That feels good. You live like that. Come on. There's nothing that you can imagine that you will not be able to really realize. There's no change that you will not be able to make in your life, so that you can make a difference, right? Because your vision is really not for you, it's for other people. And we need to become the best versions of ourselves so that we can finish the assignment, right? Whew, that was good to me. I forgot to talk about my website. So before we go, I'm going to go ahead and share that with you. Here we go. Yeah, I'm just so distracted by that. That thing was good to me. But so you can visit gwenwitherspoon.com, and that is, you can find all of the replays. You can watch live. You can see here the live broadcast is going. You can watch live from there, and then you can also see all the replays. I try to go ahead and put the last week's episode here in this little featured spot, and then these are all of the other episodes to date. And if you see, I'm trying to build like line upon line. So go back, listen, share them with your friends. If you want to contact me, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, I forgot to say to go. Y'all don't really need me to tell you to post in the comments, but if you have any questions, if you have any comments, make sure you post those. And then if you want to reach me directly, you can reach me at on my website. Just click on the contact page, and make sure you subscribe to my blog and my email list at gwenwitherspoon.com/subscribe. So that's all I have for the night. I want to thank you so much for joining me, and make sure you see me next week. Come back. Tell somebody now. You got to invite some folks. I'm so busy getting it done and making it happen that I haven't been focusing on that part at all. It's been interesting. You know, when it's time for you to change and move forward and go toward that thing that you've really been wanting, it requires that you really have to do something differently so you can become everything you need to be to walk in that. And so that's what I'm learning here. And so I am resisting the urge to be busy, trying to promote and market and talk to people and do all these things and develop content. And so I'm giving myself the space to go ahead and develop the show itself. And I'm counting on you to share with your friends. And then soon we're going to get the marketing engine going, and I'm supposed to be selling you something. But again, I really want to focus on really sharing the information, sharing the content with you, giving you an opportunity to learn everything that I have to give, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity to learn from you. So I'll sell you something later, but right now, let's just make it vivid, okay? See you next Wednesday. If I could get